Hi there, and thank you for joining me. And it's a glorious sunny Friday here in the southwest in the UK. And I'm off tomorrow to the south of France to do some recording with a chap called Paul Lapin, who I worked with probably 2 or 3 years ago now. And it was actually maybe longer than that, because I think I actually had my Rogers kit, and I haven't had the Rogers kit, unfortunately, for quite a while. Anyway, so if you're off to the Simon Johns Vintage Drum Show this weekend, have a great time. I'll miss you guys there because I always try to come along and hang out, and sometimes I play a clinic there or demonstrations. And actually, the last time I did one was just after COVID, actually, I think. And I did the Ringo Starr drumming demo, explanation of Ringo's playing, and that actually hooked me up with Gary Astridge. And that's how that whole thing started. Thanks to that drum show. So yeah, wow. So you guys have a good time. I'll be off in France, as I say. What am I talking about today? Let's crack on. So today, just talking a little bit about self-analysis, really. Any of you out there watching who are students of mine will know that I usually have this very device here that's holding up my phone right now in the studio when I'm teaching. And a lot of the times I won't use it. I'll use it for my own drumming rambles that happen in between lessons, as we know. But occasionally I'll tell them to get their phone and put them in the cradle of this device and to record themselves playing something, especially near the end of the lesson or at the end of the lesson when they're fully warmed up and they've worked on an idea or a groove, a rhythm, a phrase, a feel or a song or whatever. Because, what's interesting about this is that, and I'm still guilty of it, and I've been playing since I was 9 years old, and I'm now 54, is that oftentimes, and I think it came more apparent to me in the studio over the years, but even back in the day, with the Rose Garden, which was the band I was, my very first band, proper band, from Chippenham. And I still see people in town when I wander around, and who remember those days and will say, hey, it's Rob from the Rose Garden. It's kind of sweet. I kind of like it. But yeah, that was like a gothic sort of rock band, a bit like The Cure meets The Cult meets All About Eve meets Fields of the Nephilim, that kind of thing. Anyway, and I'd record rehearsals and listen back. And of course, we analyze everything and go, oh, the good, the bad, the ugly and everything. But it wasn't until I got into the studio that I realized, just two things. One, sometimes how you're not getting something, you're not playing it well, you haven't got the feel, maybe you haven't got the fills or the phrases into the next bit correct, the dynamics of the piece, all that kind of architecture of the song and playing and feel and everything. The other thing is sometimes, I would leave the kit and wander back to the control room and think, I don't know about that one. That take wasn't very good for me. And, all these things that we kind of surround ourselves with, all the ego kind of traps and stuff. And I've gone in and, I've opened the door and they've gone, that's the one, or that's better, or this is great. And of course, and I think some of you guys have been through this yourself on gigs and at sessions. You sort of think, oh, it wasn't for me. Something just didn't quite work for me. And so, sorry, I think we should do it again. They say, sit down, have a cuppa, and have a listen. And 9 times out of 10, they're right. And, 9 times out of 10, I sit there and I enjoy the performance. And just last week, or the week before, I was doing one of my sort of drumming rambles in between students coming in. And one of them I posted where Mark Stokes comes in. I'm like, hello, Mark. Is that all right? Which is cool. And, I was filming one of those things, and I think I said to Mark, I'm not really into it today. This is the ones I've been sharing all this week on my YouTube shorts. Where it was so cold in there, I was wearing my jacket and everything, my coat, my jacket, my coat, I remember just thinking that wasn't very good. None of that was particularly inspiring, and I watched it back. And I was sort of happily surprised that what I was watching and listening to was way better and sometimes more imaginative than when I'm trying to work hard on something. Because the idea of those concepts was just to let them run anyway. But still, sometimes once you're in the flow, you can't help but licks will follow other licks and phrases, and you end up, playing like a routine, though I try not to. But so yeah, I was listening to it and I was happily surprised. I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. I never thought I would have done that. And the rim click idea, that I had a groove where I'm playing the rim click and the snare, like a pseudo Latin-y kind of Art Blakey type thing. Come out really well. And it was just something I thought, I'll just do this. And it showed me that even after all these years, I'm still guilty of thinking too much. And two, not letting things flow and be confident in that flow, knowing that something that's going to come out is going to be okay. It's not going to be terrible. So when I do it with my students, I relate these things to them and say, listen, this is the experiences I've had. And sometimes I'm so lucky that sometimes someone else in the room, be the producer, the engineer, another band member, has said, hang on, no, this is great. Walk outside for a bit, get a bit of fresh air or whatever, come back in, listen with fresh ears, forget all the things that you think wasn't good about the take. And really, as I said a minute ago, most of it is just ego related. Because think about it, if there's something wrong with the song as you're tracking it in the studio, don't you think another band member would stop, or the engineer, producer would stop and say, hang on a minute, guys, let's just have a rethink. It's not working. Can we just check this? So if it's all rolling and it's feeling fine and no one stopped the tape, then it's okay, be in the moment, play the music. So as I say, I need to practice what I preach too. So, no one's perfect at this. And I think it's something that always runs side to side with the I've got this kind of attitude to the, what's this sounding like? It's going to go wrong. I'm not playing this very well. All that kind of stuff, the negativity. They need to run together because it keeps kind of egos in check, I suppose. But, as I say, the point of this really is to think of the self-analysis and think, it's good to film and record yourself and watch exactly what you're playing and listen and watch back. I think listening's okay, but I think be able to watch yourself as well, because you can see your posture, you can see if you're sort of leaning over too much one way or the other, or maybe making a face or a finger's popping out, or just something, that you is not really good practice. So you can put that right. One, you can look at the bits that aren't that cool, allegedly to you, put them right. Things that are just plain mistakes, you can chalk that down to it needs more practice. But more importantly, look at the good things, the really positive things that if you hadn't put the phone on and recorded yourself playing, you wouldn't have caught that little moment. And just last week, I recorded two of my students. I'm sure they won't mind me saying. Des Whiten was one, and Gavin Payne was the other one. And I recorded them both at the end of their lessons. Now, Des was on his own drum set, which is brilliant, lovely Sonor kit. And I just let it run. And I say, look, even if you stop and go, oh, bugger, oh dear, whatever, just let it run, start again. Don't worry about it. Try, try to ignore the green light on the phone, which I'm looking at now. Try and ignore that and just play. Forget it's there and just play. And I'm going to record it. I'm going to send it to you, and I can guarantee there's going to be some moments that you go, yep, okay, that needs work. There's going to be moments where you go, actually, that was rather good, that bit. I quite like that bit. And it could be something that was an afterthought of a fill that was supposed to be the phrase or the groove or the song, whatever we were working on. There's a little bit of inspiration that come out after it that was a mistake but kept you going and brought you back in. That could be a moment that you think, those two things go together well. Why did my brain suddenly shoot towards that? Because it's the same note value. It works in this way, blah, 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 blah. That kind of thing. So having it all recorded, you can go back and keep it. And you can always delete it if you want to. But the idea is you stack them up. Now, of course, I've been doing this with my YouTube shorts, and I've been doing it with my drumming rambles, blah, 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 blah. So it's kind of my way of doing that and kind of releasing all these ideas. But this isn't about me. This is about you and thinking about how you can work that practice. You can also log these practices. Some people then have said, I do this. And then what I do is I get the bits I like and make little shorts like everyone else does in the world, me included. And that's a really good thing. And then you can start stacking up your own things on your TikTok and your YouTube, Instagram and Facebook and whatever else people use. You know, it's just a really interesting way of doing it. The stuff you don't like, don't share and put in your recycle bin and get rid of it. But take note of it, you know, take note of why it wasn't right and what you could put, you know, work on to put it right, kind of thing. So, you know, like self-analysis can be pretty scary. As I say, I do it all the time. But this is supposed to be, and I've kind of done a video on that, but this is more about, you know, the points I've really been pushing today, which is like, look for the positive bits, look for the really interesting bits, the bits where you forgot the camera was rolling and you kind of just relaxed and let things flow from the original idea that you were working on. Even if you run out of ideas, but you brought yourself back in. How did you do that? You know, many times I hear students say they can't improvise. You know, they run out of ideas. But funny, when I put the camera on and I go back to the desk and I just work on my laptop and work on writing up their notes for the lesson or something, and I just leave them to it and they look up and see that I'm not listening and I'm just working, or sometimes I'll go out the room, but I'm still listening. They relax and start to play. And then what I call the real music starts to come out. You know, whatever we've worked on in that room could be quite clinical because we have to work on it and to get it together, get it working, to know the mechanics of it and stuff. But after that, it's like making it come off the page and making it into music, which is, you know, one of the things that I try and do with all the stuff that I play. Yeah, that's what this is about. Start logging your practice sessions, start watching yourself back, enjoying the bits that are there. As I say, the bits you don't like, you can work on. It's all good. So that's my little clip for today. If you've got anything to say on that, please leave some comments below. Always happy to hear from you. And a lot of people send me stuff on email that doesn't get pinged up. And as I say, I'm always getting comments about the YouTube stuff. So thank you for that. Keep it coming. And my YouTube shorts. I had a lovely one yesterday. Someone saying there's not enough likes on this clip, which is really sweet. And I'll get something like, oh, you're drumming with your coat on. You should put the heating on, man. You know, and so one of the funny ones I got was one when I do the practice pad videos, which I haven't done that many of this week. Somebody said, geez, man, haven't you got a drum kit? But yeah, all good. I enjoy it all. And before I finish, as I say, Simon John's Vintage Drum Show is on this weekend. So check that out and go up there if you wish, because it's a bit of a kind of the alter ego to the UK drum show. And it's just great fun. There's some great drummers. I think Pete Riley's playing this year and Vince Dunn's playing. He's amazing. I'm trying to think who else is playing. There's some other guys up there playing. Sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's always worth checking out because there's loads of great guys that go along, and it's sort of like family, really, the drumming family. Yeah, so enjoy that. And next week, I'll come back with a little review of my time at the recording studio. I'm sure I'll send some pictures. The weather's, well, certainly better than here. It's going to be 21 degrees, I think. So that's pretty good. And it's right out in the countryside. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'll have some pics, and also there's an upcoming Little Men gig, which I'll talk about, which is in a couple of weeks, which is in Bath at the old Theatre Royal, not the Theatre Royal, the old Theatre Royal, which is the Masons Hall, I think. So there'll be lots of weird handshakes and swords around. And that's behind M&S, but more about that later. And we'll have a special guest with us and things like that. But anyway, the sun is shining. I hope it stays nice and bright and sunny for you wherever you are. Have some great gigs this weekend. As I say, I'm off doing my thing. You look after yourselves. Keep well. Keep playing music. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that stuff. And I shall see you next week. Take care, guys. Bye.